Hello everyone, and today we're talking about upcoming Mars retrograde that will start in the early degrees of Leo, and it will then ingress back into Cancer, and it will be having many alignments that would be sort of questioning the desires and our desire nature and expression, how we just speak about what we want, and how we show what we want, and how we feel about what we want, and what are the obstacles and maybe more hidden truths that are coming up to the surface. Let's dive in and discuss the pros and cons of this transit for each of the 12 signs. I will run down some dates of this epic showdown between Mars, Saturn, Pluto. The moon will be playing its sneaky part in there too. And the main theme I have with this is, if you imagine a computer game and you're a character, and this time you start off as someone from the Mean Girls, and then you turn into full-blown emo, and then you have like this bosses, aka not really bosses, they think they are, but in the game they are bosses, and you are like, oh my god, we're squaring off again. But by the end of the level, by the end of the retrograde into the next year, there will be this new face-off between Mars that has already retrograded and went forward. And the end is gratifying. So I have good news for you. It's actually going to be just a resilience training for Mars, for the planet of independence and self-interest and separation and me energy. And in Cancer, it is like, wow, what is actually the inward motivation here? What is this charging forward? What is going on? Do we have to do that now? And what is the creative power in going inside of ourselves, where there is life, and we reclaim our life in there, and big planets along the way that Mars will be coming into conversation with during this long transit. Actually, it's I'm gonna run some dates, but it starts off with the trine with Saturn on the 30th of September, and it's then unfolding into the position between Mars and Pluto in the last degrees of Capricorn, and that is in October. And it's all working through hidden layers and showing the recognition, showing the respect to our design nature. And how do we go about it? Is the ego involved? What are the power dynamics? What are the relationship that are being tested with these external pressures and internal bursts of energy or lack of energy? Maybe there is such a pull in that the independence comes into question, and also where there is pride. So there's going to be a lot of questions, I would say, and you will be finding those answers, and you will have Mars going through all this way in Cancer, and then going into Leo, and then retrograding. It will be something, and then going back into Cancer again, only to return while we have these bosses waiting at the corners. So by the end of the game, you kind of turn into a ninja who's gonna be facing these bosses without any shame and self-initiation, and like this initiative and willingness and freedom. You're not scared anymore. So I feel these are the final takeaways for this transit, and I look forward to hear what you're experiencing in your life, and I will just run some quick dates for you. So Mars enters Cancer on the 5th of September, and at the time it's squaring a lot of energy happening in Libra, which is the South Node, Venus. At the time the moon is there. And then on the 30th of September, it is trining Saturn in Pisces, which would be the same sort of trine happening, but in February next year. So just right before it kind of goes direct. And this is going to be an important date. So 30th of September, note this date, what is happening at this time, and what are the obstacles that you can later create into tools to use rather than make it a disadvantage. So that's an important date. Another one will be the 24th of October, when Mars will be kind of squaring off, opposing Pluto in last degree of Capricorn, which has been retrograding for the last final time. I already covered this story in the final sweep video. The link is below, and you can have a look at what it means for you. So it would be on the 24th of October doing right that square off, or face off, I would rather say, with Mars, and the moon will be also passing by those late degrees of Cancer with along Mars. And on the 2nd of November, now finally Mars is opposing Pluto, and we also have Pluto trining Mercury in Scorpio. So whatever the hidden truths are happening, this is a positive transit, because you will be working with them rather than they will be working against you. And if you're prepared and you know what you're doing, it's all pretty straightforward, and no guesswork should be involved here. If there is guesswork, that means that you will have a resolution happening around January, when Mars will be opposing Pluto, but this time it will be in Leo and Pluto will be in Aquarius. So that would be kind of a wrap up. The final truths before you wrap it up. On the 5th of November, Mars will be entering Leo, and just 2 days later, it will be opposing again the Pluto and the moon coming over it. So something that happened on the 24th of October, it's kind of like the look from the other side, because moon is right now with Pluto, and Pluto is in the last degree of Capricorn, just kind of inching towards the Aquarius saga of its life. So on the 7th of December, Mars will be retrograding in Leo again, and that's the retrograde beginning. So now it has to go back, oppose Pluto again, and then it goes into Cancer on the 7th of January, and then in February, 7th, 11th of February, these days, Mars will be retrograding and trining Saturn in Pisces. So 7th of February versus 30th of September. These are the two anchors that you will know how you're going this transit. And finally, at the 25th of February 2025, Mars goes direct in Cancer. And that's sort of like, yes, we've done it. We've done it, baby. And then it's the next year, so we're not going to go that far. But just telling you, like 30th of September versus 7th of February, if you are doing something that requires deep structural work, or something like psychological, or getting to the truth of the matter, this is your perfect time. So use this and do not rush anything. Mars will be retrograde. No extra anger, no extra initiative, no extra special destiny sort of thing. Like, you are only human, and understand that the bosses will be waiting at the corners. So yeah, there will be transformation. Mean girls to emo, and then the rest, we will see what happens on the 7th of February. What will be the final evolutionary transformation here. Love you so much, and now let's dive in for each of the 12 signs. Aries, ever felt like your inner child is on fire, but your home base is shaky? Let's break it down during Mars retrograde. Hink of this transit like you're a race car in the pit stop, checking under the hood. Usually, you're all gas, no brakes, but with Mars retrograde hitting your creative 5th house and then your home-centered 4th, it's time to slow down. This is about assessing where you're impulsively chasing joy or validation, and how that impacts your inner emotional landscape. Your challenge?
reigniting your passions while also tending to your roots? Can you balance the fire without burning out? Is your home life keeping you grounded or stuck, Taurus? Mars retrograde asks for a closer look before it pushes you to speak up. Taurus, this retrograde asks you to reassess what it truly means to feel secure. The fourth house hits home, literally, urging you to examine where survival instincts are at play in your personal life. Are you building your foundation from a place of love or fear? As the retrograde moves into your third house, it's time to ask yourself, how are you communicating your needs? Are the people in your life truly listening, or are you stuck in survival mode, building walls instead of bridges? Gemini, are you speaking your truth or just talking? Mars retrograde asks you to pause and reflect on what really matters. Your communication game is usually your superpower, Gemini. But with Mars retrograde messing with your third house, you might feel like you're speaking in riddles, even to yourself. It's time to sift through the dualities in your thoughts and words. What are you really saying? As the retrograde shifts into your second house of values and self-worth, this transit asks, are you speaking from a place of alignment with your true worth, or are you chasing validation through empty words? Mars retrograde is in your house, Cancer. What's more important, your value or your identity? Let's figure it out. With Mars retrograde moving through your second sun house of self-worth and then into your first house of identity, it's like pulling back the layers of emotional conditioning that have shaped your ego. This is the moment to redefine your relationship with security, not just in the material sense, but in how you value yourself. Are you basing your worth on old patterns, or is it time to reclaim your sense of self without the emotional baggage? Leo, this Mars retrograde is all about rebalancing your desire for the spotlight with the need for deep soul work. Leo, the universe is dimming your spotlight for a moment to give you a chance to recalibrate. Mars retrograde in your first house might feel like your inner child is sulking backstage, craving the applause. But as it moves into your 12th house, it's time to explore what lies behind the curtain. Grandiosity meets vulnerability here. Where are you performing for external approval rather than embracing your true inner power? This transit is asking you to realign with your core self, even when the stage lights are off. From your subconscious to your community, Virgo, Mars retrograde will challenge your inner world and outer connections. Virgo, this retrograde brings a deep dive into your subconscious as it starts in your 12th house. It's like you're being called to examine the behind the scenes mechanisms of your need to serve and heal. Are you giving from a place of true compassion, or are there hidden motivations? As Mars moves into your 11th house of community, you'll need to reflect on your role within your tribe. Are you offering support from a place of mutual exchange, or have boundaries blurred in the name of duty? Libra, Mars retrograde starts with your social circles and then dives into your career. Are you balanced between the two? Libra, this retrograde is bringing your attention to your connections with friends, communities, and your larger networks. Starting in your 11th house, it's time to reflect on how much of yourself you're giving away in social circles and whether it's feeding your soul or just maintaining peace. As Mars moves into your 10th house of career and status, the focus shifts to your professional relationships. Are your partnerships truly balanced, or have you been sacrificing too much in the name of harmony? Scorpio Mars retrograde in Leo asks you to assess your career goals before taking you on a soul-searching journey. Mars retrograde in your 10th house of career asks you to reassess how you're using your power and influence. Are you climbing the ladder for authentic reasons, or is it a quest for control? As the retrograde moves into your 9th house of higher learning and belief systems, it's a call to dig deeper. What philosophies are truly driving you? It's time to release outdated power dynamics and embrace a more transformative, higher purpose that goes beyond ambition. Sagittarius, this retrograde starts with your belief systems and pulls you into deeper intimacy. Are you ready to reflect? Sagittarius, this retrograde in your 9th house is asking you to hit pause on this relentless quest for expansion and adventure. It's a moment to ask yourself, what truth am I chasing? As Mars moves into your 8th house, it's time to confront deeper issues of shared resources, intimacy, and emotional vulnerability. Are you running from your own emotional depths, masking it with wanderlust? This is your chance to explore the inner realms with the same courage you use to explore the world. Capricorn, this Mars retrograde wants you to look inward at emotional depth and trust before shifting your relationship focus. Capricorn, Mars retrograde in your 8th house of shared resources and power dynamics is asking you to relinquish control. But we know that's not your favorite game. This is about reflecting on how you handle vulnerability, trust, and intimacy. As Mars shifts into your 7th house of partnerships, it's time to reassess the balance in your relationships. Are you trying to control the narrative, or can you surrender to mutual growth and trust? Your challenge is to soften without losing your strength. Mars retrograde pulls Aquarius to reflect on partnerships and then moves into daily routines. Are you aligned? Aquarius, you cherish your independence, but Mars retrograde in your 7th house of partnerships asks you to reassess how you handle relationships. Are you truly engaging, or are you keeping an emotional distance in the name of freedom? As Mars moves into your 6th house of daily routines and health, it's a time to reflect on how your habits support or hinder your ability to connect authentically. Balance between the personal and relational is the key focus. Pisces, are your daily habits supporting your creative dreams? Mars retrograde in Leo asks for a deep dive. Pisces, Mars retrograde in your 6th house of wellness is asking you to reflect on the balance between your spiritual and physical health. Have you been neglecting your body while lost in the ether of dreams and emotions? As Mars moves into your 5th house of creativity and joy, it's time to reassess how you express yourself. Are you engaging with your inner child in a way that nourishes both your spirit and your body? It's time to bring your daydreams into the real world.